what makes me mad? It's that when Biden got kicked out of the Democratic Party, basically, they picked Kamala Harris to run against Trump. They said that she was the right person for the job. She said she was the right person for the job. She was supposed to be the person with a plan. Now, apparently she wasn't the right person for this job and she lost, but she said that she had a plan to fix things. Why isn't she talking out against all the fuck-ups that the Trump administration is making? Why isn't she out there every single day saying, this is what I would be doing instead? Why is she proposing a plan for the American people rather than cowering, being silent? I mean, if she believed that she was the right person for the job, if she was the right person for the job, then she'd be leading the charge against Trump right now. And she's not.
She's not, because she put her plan out there. She put her option out there. She put herself out there. And too many of our own people, too many of the people who would normally vote on the left side of the ledger or the Democratic side of the ledger or the liberal side of the ledger, just couldn't bring themselves to get out there and vote. They wanted to send a message. Now, I'm not saying that you're one of those people, but that's what happened. We had an option to implement her plan. We had an option to see her vision for the future. And millions of our own voters went, nope. It's not like they gained a shit ton. His numbers went up slightly. Ours went down. Why? They didn't go to him. We didn't see 10 million people. His numbers jumped by 10 million people. We saw 10 million of our own people, or whatever the number is, either stay home or vote for everybody else but the top of the ticket to send a message. So Democratic voters wanted to send a fucking message to Kamala Harris. Message received, by the way. And now you're bitching and moaning that she's not out there being the flag bearer, being the standard bearer? Seems to me if we wanted to hear Kamala Harris's voice in the political realm right now, we would have shown up and voted for her. What doesn't help the cause, and I think that you voted for Kamala Harris based on your content. What doesn't help the cause, though, is when you tell people it doesn't matter which one of the two of them gets in, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, like you did.
Whenever there's an election, it seems like the billionaires always win. Whether Kamala or Donald Trump wins, it's like the billionaires always win.
I'm not going to necessarily argue that billionaires make out in any way, shape, or form. But you, as somebody who ran for office in this last election, congratulations by putting your hat in the ring, by the way. I mean that sincerely. But you, as somebody that's been through this, understand that people are easily influenced. And when they hear somebody who they trust talk about how it doesn't really matter which one of them gets in, we're basically going to get the same result, that doesn't really help the cause either. Now, sorry, I had a phone call come in the middle of recording. You also shitting on the Biden administration, right? You said Joe Biden had a good first week and a good last week, but in the middle, So the infrastructure bill, the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the PACT Act, all of this bipartisan legislation he got done way more than I ever thought he was going to get done. I thought he was going to be a very inconsequential president, but he got way more than I thought done. All of that in the middle was just he had a good first week and a good bad week last week, huh?
It makes me crazy that Biden wasn't doing this kind of action throughout his entire presidency. He had a good first week and he had a good last week, but throughout the middle, he was just on the back foot, playing defense.
Oh, okay.
We know that Republican policy doesn't work. I mean, even rich people right now are losing money. So why do they keep on getting elected? It's because Democrats don't offer an alternative. I mean, so many strategists right now are saying we have to moderate our views, that we have to be Republican light. And when you don't offer an alternative, nobody wants to vote for you. But Bernie Sanders and AOC are popular, even with my Republican friends.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Give me the election in which you did not have a Democratic alternative in. Was there a Senate race out there that I was unaware of that was unopposed? I understand there's some local shit that's unopposed. We just had a consolidated election with a ton of seats that ran unopposed. But was there a national Senate seat or congressional district that ran unopposed that there was no Democratic alternative to? Was there a governor's race or a state house race or something of that nature? You're saying that the Democrats didn't give you an alternative. No, the Democrats didn't give you an alternative that you liked. You want to be able to like everything about your candidate. And that's not how real life works. In real life, you're going to have to deal with people in the workplace, your kids' friends, parents, just around town, in society in general, even within your own family. You're going to have to deal with people that you don't like necessarily everything they stand for or do. You're going to have to deal with people that don't agree with you on everything. But that's not what the folks, the further left you go, want. They want the perfect candidate, the candidate that agrees with them across the board. And if they don't, then they're not going to show up. You asked a question right there. Republican policies don't work. Even rich people are losing money. So why do they get elected? Because people who say, Democrats aren't giving me the perfect candidate, don't show up to vote because they think there's no alternative. So they allow fascism to take hold by abstaining from voting. And then they turn around and blame the party that gave them an alternative, an imperfect alternative, but an alternative nonetheless. They could have been unhappy with the lack of progress, but not have the regression that we see now by just electing Democrats. They won't do that. So they've chosen the regression that we have now, but they want to blame the Democrats for it. It's not how this works. The Democrats are an imperfect machine. Absolutely. The Democrats have a fuck ton of flaws. I wish we didn't have Republicans and Democrats. I wish we had 6, 7, 8 viable options each and every election cycle, but we don't. And if you're going to be a fucking grown-up, you ran for Congress. Time to be a fucking grown-up. And if I could put a quick PS on this, you guys who abstain from voting, and maybe this guy's not one of them, but you guys who watch this, who abstain from voting, who protest voted, you're like the 16-year-old kid that got a brand new car for their birthday, but pissed and moaned because it wasn't the color that they liked. I wanted the red Jeep. I'm not driving that. That's what you sound like. That's what you are.